The diner buzzed with the midday rush, but the silence around table 7 was deafening. A group of young men, loud with bravado, laughed as they blocked the path of an old man trying to pass. His hand trembled slightly as he adjusted the frayed strap of his bag, a worn silver medal pinned to his faded jacket. A medal they dismissed with a single sneer. Outdated relics don't buy you a seat here, old man. One of them spat, shoving his plate forward, crumbs scattering like the last remnants. Of respect, the old man didn't speak. He simply looked down, as if searching the floor for something he'd lost long ago. His name was Frank Delaney, a name few would remember now. Decades ago, it had commanded attention on the battlefield, stitched on the uniform of a Marine who had once dragged his injured brothers through enemy fire, never waiting for orders, never asking for thanks. But wars fade, and so do memories. Frank had buried friends in soil both foreign and familiar. He had folded too many flags for mothers who couldn't bear to touch them. He had carried not only the weight of his pack, but the ghosts of those who hadn't made it home. Every step he took now was heavy with the silence of the men who no longer walked beside him. He'd come to this diner because it had once been a place where veterans were welcome. The old photographs still lined the back wall, sepia-toned soldiers, tight-lipped but proud. Yet no one seemed to see those pictures anymore, just like they didn't see him. The waitress glanced nervously at the group, her tray wobbling as she passed. She caught Frank's eye, then quickly looked away. The manager at the counter simply adjusted his tie, pretending the incident didn't exist. Silence, sharp and suffocating, pressed into the edges of the room. Frank remained still, his shoulders straight, his gaze lowered, not in shame, but in the quiet discipline of a man who knew battles were sometimes won without a sound. The laughter from the group grew louder, their words sharper, their mockery now a performance for the room. Patrons noticed. Some shook their heads. Others buried themselves in their coffee cups. No one intervened. Until he walked in. A man in his 40s, broad-shouldered, his stride precise, the unmistakable presence of a Marine still clinging to him. His sharp eyes flicked to Frank, to the medal, to the smirking faces of the young men. Without hesitation, the Marine crossed the diner, his boots firm against the tile. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. He dropped to one knee before Frank, his head bowed low, and with deliberate, reverent care, he saluted the worn silver medal. The diner froze. The young men fell silent, the weight of their ignorance suddenly crushing. The waitress gasped, her hand trembling over her mouth. The manager's face paled as though the air had been pulled from his lungs. The Marine's voice, steady and low, carried through the room like a sacred vow. Some medals, he said, aren't worn for show. They're worn because they never stopped being carried. Frank's throat tightened, the years of forgotten respect collapsing in on him at once. Still, he said nothing. He didn't need to point one by one. Other veterans in the diner rose to their feet. Some placed their hands over their hearts. Others, with stiff knees and aching backs, slowly knelt in silent tribute. A quiet cascade of honor unfolded. Ordinary people, now visibly moved, standing in solidarity. Even the waitress, eyes brimming, stood taller, as though she had just remembered the weight of history walking among them. The young men shrank in their seats, their bravado dissolved, their faces pale with the shame of belated understanding. They fumbled apologies, their words hollow and too late. Frank's silence was his answer. Some battles are not fought with fists or fury, but with the quiet endurance of men who carry nations in their bones. The Marine stood, locking eyes with the group, his final words leaving a mark that would outlast the moment. Remember this. You don't measure a man by the shine of his jacket. You measure him by the weight of what he carries, and the fact that he still stands. The diner would never forget what it witnessed that day. Frank left quietly, his medal still pinned to his chest, no shinier than before, but now shining in the hearts of those who finally saw him. And for the first time in years, he walked a little lighter. There are heroes who never ask to be seen, but the weight they carry shapes the very ground we walk on. Sometimes, the loudest honor comes in silence. Where are you watching from? Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the silent strength that still walks among us.